Just a couple times a year, I host my free Profitable and Productive Web Designer Bootcamp, where for 3 days I go live with educational trainings and Q&A sessions with other designers who have already built successful, fully booked out web design businesses. And one of the designers I featured in my most recent bootcamp was none other than talented past student of mine, Emily Agan. Now, Emily recently did the most amazing guest post on my blog where she shared all of her best tips for how to run a freelance web design business with a new baby in tow. Interestingly enough, I learned last year that a lot of the women who were taking my Score Secrets and Score Secrets business courses were actually taking them because they either just had children or were thinking of having children. And then they realized their current job was not going to work around their new priorities and their new life schedule with a baby. They needed a new career path that was going to both bring home the bacon and free them up to be present with their growing family. The feedback on Emily's post was so overwhelming and amazing, so I just knew I had to have her back to chat a bit more in depth about her experience of becoming a website designer while also trying to balance being a brand new mom. But before I hit play on that interview for you, if you missed out on our most recent web designer bootcamp and want to make sure that you are on the list to be notified the next time that I host it, then I invite you to hang out with me on my email list, which is where I shout out about all new upcoming events, as well as any giveaways that I have planned for the newest group of boot campers. Hello and welcome, Emily. I'm so happy to have you here, and welcome. So Emily did the most amazing blog post. She did a guest post on my blog. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but she's talking about like running a business with a baby. And what I learned last year actually was that a lot of women were taking my courses because either they just had children or they were thinking about having children, and then they realized like, wow, my current job is not going to work with a child. So like I need to find a different way to do it. And so I've just been really interested in hearing how women are running businesses with babies. And so when you wrote that blog post, I loved all the parts of it. And so I just want to bring you on to talk a little bit about what your experience has been like and being a website designer with your brand new baby. Can you say, how old is your son?
He'll be 3 months next week, so brand spanking new.
Good. That's great. Okay, so let's start at the beginning for people to try to like get them caught up to like where you are now, and then we can give all your like amazing tips and advice that you shared in that blog post. So can you talk about what were you doing before you became a website designer?
So before I became a designer, I was living in Oregon. I was an assistant curator at a museum. And I honestly had been there for a couple of years, but right before I became a website designer was when COVID happened and I was furloughed with my job. So I went down to part-time for a while. And right after that happened, I broke my foot. Yeah, it was like when it rains, it pours. I had those two things happen back to back, and I found myself with a ton of free time, which is kind of when I started searching for different things to do, looking for stuff online. I'd actually been reading your blog posts for several years, and I was like, oh, I should check on my page and see like
what she has.
what's going on in that world. Yeah, so yeah, that's what I was doing before.
Did you know you wanted to be a website designer, or you were just like, I just want to do something on the internet, or like, did you have a specific idea it was going to be web design, or were you considering other options?
No, I pretty much knew that I wanted to do something online. I think web design was very much swayed by you and your course. Leading up to this, I had always wanted to work online because I traveled a lot. My husband and I lived in a motorhome for several years. We were very mobile. I wanted to be able to work from wherever, whenever. And so I did a little bit of social media management for a bit before I worked at a museum. But then I just kind of thought that anything online would be great. And then it occurred to me last week as I was thinking about it, I'm like, I have literally been doing graphic design and design for websites for my siblings who are entrepreneurs for years. That's like how I found out about Squarespace. And it never occurred to me that I was like, oh yeah, like I've been doing this a lot longer than I thought I have. Yeah. And so actually doing a website for a friend was part of something that I was doing earlier that year before COVID had happened. And that was something that I was like, I really enjoy this, but hadn't thought about it as a career fully yet. I just kind of put that in the back of my head. So yeah, I'd done it quite a bit. It just never occurred to me. I didn't put those pieces together that I was like, this is what I should do.
Okay, that makes sense. And then can you talk about when did you take Square Secrets business and when did you know that you were pregnant and having a baby? And then when did baby come as well?
Yeah. So, okay, I was furloughed, broke my foot, and probably like the next week, I was so bummed out and had nothing to do that I was already found your course and I was already taking it. I was probably like halfway through it already by that point. I was just like speeding through it because I was like, I've got nothing better to do. And if worst comes to worst, like I want to be prepared and have something ready. But then at the same time, my husband and I were like talking about starting a family. And so I knew that this would be great. Like if I was going to have a baby, I knew I didn't necessarily want to send them to daycare. I probably wanted to stay home. And so I was like, what if I could find something that would work with a family and I'd still be able to do my own thing on top of traveling and being, you know, free to do whatever, whenever. So I did that back in June of 2020. And then the summer passed, and that August, I quit my job. And then in September, we found out we were pregnant. So
found out in September. Awesome.
Yeah. So I took the course. Like I basically like sort of subtly launched my business. Like I had a website up. I was kind of working with people. I hadn't like fully launched yet. I quit my full-time job. My husband quit his full-time job. He and I both moved down to Texas. He left before me. And a week on the road when he was down here, I found out I was pregnant and I called him and I was like, hey, I'm pregnant. We're going to have to figure this out. Like we were just like starting fresh, starting new. And that's when I launched my website as well, because I was like, it's now or never, like we got to make this work. So yeah, that's kind of things happened.
Amazing. Okay, good. And the reason which I love, and again, this story is because so many women, they're realizing, okay, I need a job which works with this. So can you talk about, I mean, obviously you don't have any experience of like working a regular 9 to 5 or something and like having a baby, but can you talk about maybe like what has it been like to be running your own business and having a baby at the same time?
Yeah, it's been both amazing and complicated. So I did run the business while I was pregnant, and basically like my business was growing as I was like approaching my due date. And I had a ton of free time to do whatever. It was amazing. I got to call the shots. I got to pick who I was working with. I got to take days off whenever I wanted to. I still get to do that, but now there's less free time for things I would have done before. So not as much traveling, not as much just like watching TV and going out on a date and stuff like that. But it's amazing because I have basically set up my life how I want to, which is I've created a very efficient home environment. We picked a place to live to where I literally have a co-working space downstairs.
Good.
I'm very excited about that. With its own like coffee shop and stuff, and a very, very quiet like neighborhood and a place where I don't really have to leave home ever, and I can still be comfortable. So I've sacrificed a lot of things that I used to do, but I picked a place for me and my family and for my baby to raise my baby, which I knew would be comfortable and that I wouldn't have to go and do those things.
Yep.
So with that trade-off, now I still get to like have my own hours and do my own thing. And it's not as terrible as I thought it was going to be. Like I thought I was going to be like so miserable that I never had free time to do the things that I used to do and that I couldn't be independent. And it's not like that. It's really great and flexible. I just work weird hours now and I kind of just go with the flow. Sometimes I'm working really, really, really late at night. Like I might get up to nurse my baby and then just stay up a couple of hours to work, which is not people's norm. But if I have the energy and if I want to, I can do that. Like you can't do that with your normal 9 to 5.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. I can work from wherever. The best thing that I've loved doing is I will literally pack up the car, take my baby, let him fall asleep in the back seat, and then I'll just park, pull out my hotspot and my laptop, and I'll work like in the car. It is so easy. So I could just, go get a coffee, run through a drive-through, and have another working session. It's
Awesome.
super flexible, and I wouldn't have ever been able to do that with a normal.
Man, that is like a mom hack and a half. Like drive around, have the baby fall asleep in the backseat, go get a coffee, turn on a hotspot, or if you even like park close enough to like Starbucks or McDonald's, I'm sure you can also get their Wi-Fi, and then just work that way. Wow, people need to know that one. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, so it sounds like has there been any like trade-offs though? Have you had to be like, no, I can't take on as many projects, or are you still like doing roughly the same amount, or what's happening like in terms of like the business before and after?
Yeah. We had kind of talked about this a little bit, you and I did before this, but basically I didn't have a big plan in place leading up to giving birth. I know a lot of people prepare in advance with their businesses. I didn't do that. So this past 3 months it's literally been just a trial run for me. So I kept on as many clients as I had before, all the projects I had booked out in advance. And I've just basically been seeing how much I can do and what I can do. And then moving into the new year is when I'm going to change up everything and make it accommodate my life even more. So yes, I have been able to keep up with everything. Wow. I'm glad to say, with a lot of mom hacks and a lot of help from people.
That's good. Yeah. And can you talk about what you want to do in the new year to make it accommodate your life more? What are you thinking?
Yeah, so I want to switch up my packages. I'm going to raise my prices. That was something I had thought about doing before, but then I was like, I honestly don't know what I'm going to be like as an entrepreneur and a mother. Like I have no clue. This is brand new territory. So this was a little bit of a trial run for me to see how it went. And now that I know I can do it and I can do both at the same time, I'm confident in raising my prices. So I'm actually, for the first time, getting my brand photos taken. We'll be raising my prices and updating my packages on my website. I think what I'm leaning towards now is I have been doing a 2-week website, custom web design and branding web design, and then some specialty projects. I think I'm just going to increase the length of the projects for me. And while I can still get things done in a 2-week time period, I've proved that to myself, I don't necessarily want to with my baby. So I'm thinking of making things longer, projects a little longer, so that way I can have some more free time, and then as well as maybe shifting the niche that I'm working with. I didn't really have a niche before. I think I was just taking anybody and everybody to figure out what I liked, and so I'm narrowing that down a bit as well.
Cool. Do you have an idea of what niche you want to go for now? What you're liking?
Yes. I'm not necessarily niching with an industry. I feel like I'm niching with a personality type.
Yeah. Oh, good. Okay, good. I love that.
So I really enjoy working with intuitive feelers. So people who are super empathetic. They tend to be more sensitive. They absorb a lot of energy. I love working with them because they kind of get really stressed out about business. And I feel like I can come in and give them a sense of peace and calm and take over some things that are just driving them absolutely insane.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Okay, good. And then, so coming back to this blog post, your tips were bomb. So can you talk about what happened with social media once you had a baby?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it had to go immediately. So actually, my husband probably got me started on this. He made a commitment. He said as soon as the baby was born, for the first 2 weeks of his life, he was going to turn his phone off for those first 2 weeks and just be totally present and be there for everything. And oh my goodness, it was amazing. Like I had never seen him so totally invested before. And so I noticed myself being on my phone way more than I should have been. I was picking it up just when I was bored, or if I wanted to relax. I do it a lot for relaxation. I'm like, I need some brain space, and I'd pick up my phone and then would realize very quickly that I was super stressed out and completely overwhelmed. And so I did a little experiment. I turned my phone off. I actually deleted not just my social media apps, I deleted every app off of my phone except for my I know my regular phone and my text messaging. That didn't last very long because no one could get a hold of me. I have people contacting me. But it did some amazing things for my brain. Like, for whatever reason, when you pick up a phone and you see those little red dots all over it, the notifications, you can't not click on them. Like, and with Instagram, I would be on there and I would literally click on it, forget what I was doing, and be on there for like an hour, and I have lost all my time.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, no question. Like, I have the exact same situation. So I, like a month ago, I was like, I'm gonna make my phone a useless brick. So I didn't go as far as you. I didn't delete every app or anything, but I was like, I really got super harsh on the cell phone and just deleted so many things from it, and it was awesome. And yeah, I can even tell. So like, normally I don't have the Instagram app on my phone. This week, because it's launch, I have the Instagram app on my phone, and man, is that thing a time suck. Like, it is crazy what you can do when you don't have that on your phone. So yep, I'm here with you.
Absolutely insane. Yeah.
Okay, good. And then can you talk about the other things that had to go? So you mentioned like stuff around your apartment, dinner, and entertaining baby visitors. Can you talk to me about those 3 things?
Yeah. So I literally was like, I can't get more time. Like, this is it. This is all the time I have. So I was like, what can I cut out of my life? I'm a big fan of the KonMari method. And so I'm like, if it doesn't spark joy, it's out. And so for me, like, I hate grocery shopping. I hate going to the grocery store and cooking. And so we've set up a system where we do grocery pickup at the store. We have dinners delivered to our house. And then I also have like a set of like snacks and smoothies that get delivered to our house. So none of our food I have to go and pick up. And I have plenty of snacks and meals for the day. And that just saved me so much time. Like, if I go to the grocery store, I could be gone for hours and hours. And then every single night at dinner, I usually finding myself working a lot of the time. While my husband cooks and plays with our baby, I will get in like any chance I can, 15, 20 minutes, a little bit of extra work. So yeah, I definitely, dinner had to go.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Also cleaning, like beforehand, we live very minimally and don't have a lot of things. As I mentioned before, we used to live in a very tiny little motorhome. And so we moved into an apartment this year. We didn't have a lot of stuff. But then I got tons of things for the baby. And stuff just started to accumulate for us because we're like, we have more space. We need more stuff. And realized that I could not keep up with the cleaning and just daily maintenance of dishes. And so I did a huge purge, like I think maybe the 3rd or 4th week after I had the baby. I just got rid of anything. If I was like, if I don't want to clean it, it's out of here. And I found that I had a lot more time because I wasn't constantly doing laundry, didn't constantly have dishes. Our house was picked up more. And then I had more of that brain space to sit down and do the creative design work that I really wanted to do.
That's so good.
Yeah.
And can you talk about your baby visitors / babysitting strategy? This was awesome.
Yes. So as soon as the baby was born, we had people coming over to help out, just like dropping off meals and things like that wanted to visit. And I quickly realized that it ate huge chunks out of my day. Like, someone could come over and then an hour or 2 is gone. But I also realized that people were happy to just be with the baby, maybe even taking over feeding for me if I had pumped something into a bottle or entertained them for a while. So I just took that as an opportunity of free babysitting. I would literally be like, you seem good here. I'm just going to go into the bedroom for a couple of hours. I like hack out some emails, do a few things on a project. And they were more than happy to do it. Like, there's such a social faux pas. Like, you feel like you have to entertain when somebody's in your house. But most of the time, people just want to help, and they literally don't care what your house looks like. And they love babies. So it was an easy exchange, win-win situation for everybody.
Yes, that's so good. Yep, I love this. Yep, I love all your tips. I think those are amazing. And again, for anyone who has not read this blog post yet, after we finish this, I'm going to link it in the like live video recording or whatever, because your tips were amazing. So yeah, do you have any words of encouragement for anyone who's like, I want to be a website designer and I have a baby or I'm about to have a baby or anything you can say that might help them or help calm their fears?
Yeah, I would say you can 100% do it. Having a baby doesn't stop your life. Things get more complicated and there's a learning curve. And I think it's just important to remember that you're doing something totally new. And so to give yourself a ton of grace with that, because you will eventually figure it out, but it might look crazy and messy at the beginning, and that's okay. Especially if you are pregnant and thinking about doing this, I would say don't stress yourself out about getting it perfect and having your business perfect before you launch it. Because even now, like I had it almost a year to perfect my business before the baby came, and I've been working the last 3 months and I'm like, I still want to change it. It's still not how I want it. I should have just thrown myself into it 100% and done what I could, because as you're in it, you actually progress a lot faster than if you're on the sidelines waiting to get in.
Oh, yes. Yes, that's so true. This is great advice, honestly, for anyone like pregnant, not pregnant, like just literally so many people. I've done like coaching calls with students in the past, and they list off this list of things. They're like, okay, and I need to do these 74 things before I launch my website and my business. And I was like, no, you don't. Like, let's like, give me that list. We're going to cut it down to what you actually need to do. Because like, you don't need to do half these things. So change the expectation of like what has to be perfect and finished before you, launch the business, have a baby, whatever it is. Like, it doesn't need to be like that. So I really love that. Okay, good. And then is there anything, could you also help me out with one last question?
Yeah.
Would you have any advice for anyone who's on the fence thinking about joining Squarespace business right now?
Yeah. I would do it. It pays itself back. Honestly, I was the person beforehand. I had been reading Paige's stuff for years. Like I was just like trying to gather information, not necessarily on web design, but just like on being online, doing something in the online world. And if I had tried to piece it together on my own, it would have taken forever. It is so worth it to have someone lay out a clear roadmap for you, like in a box, here you go. And it sets you up for success. You can just jump right out of the gate and start right away. So if you're on the fence, you will earn that money back, and it will like literally save you so much time.
That's amazing. Yeah. I have to say also, okay, so thank you. I appreciate that. But I also think I have to say, like, when I see students, like how fast they can get these businesses up and running and booking themselves months in advance, it is astonishing. And I did not do that, but I also didn't have a course which told me what to do. Like, I also am just like, yeah, it took me, like, I was the person who like didn't take a course because there wasn't one that existed at the time. And then it did take me years to figure out, like, running around in circles and doing things that weren't important and like weren't moving me forward in the business and everything. And so creating a welcome package that took me an entire month and like stuff like that. So
yeah, you've literally done the trial and error for us, and now we get to benefit from everything you've done.
That's so good. Okay, well, I want to say thank you so much, Emily. This is amazing. I hope anyone who is thinking about having a child or has a child is really encouraged by what you've done and what you shared. And again, this blog post is unreal. I'm going to link it for you right after this. So yeah, thank you so much, Emily. I really appreciate it. If you liked today's video and appreciated Emily's story and her tips, then let me know by hitting the like button. And remember, for the best tips and tricks on building a web design business that supports a life you love, be sure to hit the subscribe button, and also be sure to tap the bell button so you're notified when new content drops on my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're wondering what to watch next, I highly suggest checking out these videos too. Thank you.